Coming to you live from Ursprung Gymnasium on the campus of Baldwin Wallace University. We're ready for another OAC matchup today as the Wilmington Quakers will take on the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets. Brendan Gulick and Jeff Miller alongside. It's going to be a fun day, Jeff. It's two teams, honestly, that match up pretty well on paper. They've had very similar seasons, but I think when you look at some of the specific things, Baldwin Wallace feels like today's maybe the day they can get off the schneid.
They both have not playing to the potential that they thought they would be. Neither one would think that they were going to be in the lower half of the conference starting off. Both are good shooting teams. BW has that slight advantage with Cam Kuhn, and now Mike Kaminsky coming back off of a couple of days of injuries and going to start again tonight. So they got some great shooters. This is a Wilmington team that's always played BW tough, so you're never sure. BW's got 5 in a row against the Quakers, but you never know what could happen.
This is, as you mentioned, a Wilmington team that's very well coached. They're probably as tenacious as anybody all across the league. They're the kind of team that wants to get that mental edge at you. They're going to try to get under your skin.
They're a team that plays very tough on the offensive end. Don't really know much about this team after a graduate of Malcolm Hurd's level, that attacked the glass on any side of the ball. So they're a team that you never know. Ball's up, you better be putting a body on them to box them out because they're coming after you.
Yeah, Malcolm Hurd was certainly a force to be reckoned with. On the BW side of things, even though they're 6-6, they got off to a great start, and they're kind of reeling a little bit. They've dropped 4 games in a row. Wilmington's 6-6, but they've won a few in a row. Two teams moving slightly in different directions, but again, I think BW, if they can get the 3-ball going early in this game, there's a reason they're hitting more than 10 threes on average per night. They're a good shooting team.
If they knock down those first couple, Wilmington better start playing very good perimeter defense. Otherwise, this game could be over in the first half.
It's January in the Ohio Athletic Conference, which means it's going to start getting really competitive all across the league. When we come back, we'll hear from assistant coach Brian Schmidt here on BWYellowJackets.com. Continuing to cover the Yellow Jackets as they get ready for a big conference game this afternoon against the Wilmington Quakers at home after a loss at Mount Union on Wednesday. We're here with assistant coach Brian Schmidt. Brian, I know it was a frustrating loss at Mount Union in large part because it was such a slow start, but I think a lot of credit goes to the guys for climbing back in and making it a really competitive game. What do you hope that they learned from that game?
You know, in an OAC game, it's just you've got to come out. I mean, honestly, you know, looking back on the game, I think that slow start is probably what did us in. As crazy as that sounds, you can't get down to a good team like that who can score the basketball. I think it was 15-3 or 15-4, whatever it was. So, you know, we've got to come out. We're going to do some things a little bit to shake it up here, you know, hopefully to give us a better start with our lineup and kind of tweak some things. But, you know, like I said, we can't go down to a team like that shoots the ball like that and score the basketball like they do and expect to, you know, especially on the road. So for our guys, it's a learning curve. You know, you got to come out ready to compete. We talk about going out and throwing the first punch, and obviously we didn't do that. But the beautiful thing is with the OAC, it's Wednesday, Saturday, so we get another chance to turn around and do that today, and hopefully we get off to a better start.
As you get into today's game, you're going to play a team in conference that historically is one of the most physical and intimidating teams. They love to get up in your grill. They love to try and get that mental edge, probably better than just about anybody else in the OAC. How do you keep your guys locked in mentally for 40 minutes?
Yeah, they're certainly going to test that. They're one of 3 teams in the league that's going to press us. They're going to switch all screens. They're going to deny in the passing lanes. You know, I think we had a really good week of preparation, but it's all about 40 minutes. You can't let it snowball. You can't let one turnover turn into 2 and 2 turn into 3. You just got to play the next play. And those are things we preach every day and talk about, and hopefully in the back of their head, if they do have a turnover, because it's going to happen throughout the course of the game, or you know, a silly play, hopefully we can put it behind us and just continue to play the next play and don't let that have a snowball effect. But our guys are getting better. I think some things that we talked about and touched up on this week are hopefully going to come to fruition here, and hopefully you'll see a little bit better, seasoned, more mature team tonight.
I think you're looking at a matchup here today with two teams that honestly are kind of on equal footing. Yeah, the records are the same, but even more than that, the styles in a lot of ways seem to be the same. A lot of it starts with the way both teams like the frequency of shooting the three-point shot. Your team, 10th in the country in three-pointers made per game, 20th in the country in three-pointers attempted. It's been kind of live and die by the three. Is that a comfortable feeling, or is that something you've tried to work on?
No, that's what we like to do. I don't think it's a secret, and I think that, if you watch our games and go back and watch the film, that's certainly what teams are taking away. They're taking us away from the three-point line. And, when they do that, we've got to do a better job of adjusting to it right away. I think one of our keys for the game tonight is adjusting before I put it on the board, adjusting before the game even gets started. So in our mind right now, knowing that they're probably going to take us away from the three-point line, but what are we going to do? We got to loosen them up early. I think we got to ice some ball screens, and I think we got to kind of loosen them up on some dribble handoff stuff and kind of get them going, and then hopefully if we get some easy ones early, that'll free up the three-point line. But no, that's our philosophy. As good as Jake is, and as good as Mike is, and Alex and our other big guys, we're a pick and pop three-point shooting team, and that we recruit guys that can shoot the basketball. They can get us some easy ones, and so can our guards. Genesis and Cam are really getting to the basket better, and I think that showed against Mount Union to get us some easy ones. But we're a three-point shooting team. Like you said, they are as well. That's our philosophy defensively, too. We always say the great equalizer in basketball is the three-point line. So we're certainly going to try to guard them from three. They got some fours, which is pretty unique. They're like us. They got some fours and fives that can really stretch the floor and shoot it. And so we're going to try to take them away early and not let them get going. But hopefully we make a few more than they do.
I know you're a former big man in this conference, and I know you've got a certain affinity for that part of the game. One of the critical pieces on your team that isn't necessarily a sharpshooter from three, you mentioned him, Mike Kaminsky. He got hurt a couple of weeks ago, missed a couple games, but came back against Mount Union. In your mind, how was his productivity?
Mike's right now, Mike is obviously a pick and pop threat. He can shoot the replace three. He's really good on the perimeter. He doesn't need a lot of time. He doesn't need a lot of space. I think he needs to certainly expand his game, and when they switch onto him and he's got guards on him, be able to go down there and score it. But Mike can really shoot the basketball, and that's going to translate every game. Teams have to guard him. It opens up driving lanes for Cam and Genesis. But I'll tell you where Mike really helps us and where we missed him is the defensive end. He's not the fastest guy on our team. He's not the most athletic guy, but the guy competes his tail off. He's one of our best, if not our best competitor. So having him back in a lot of ways is just a leader on the floor, somebody that's going to communicate, talk to our younger guys, kind of call out their defense. He's a really intelligent basketball player. I'll bet you, if you really lock into the game, you'll see he's probably got a pretty good idea of what Wilmington's trying to do and trying to bark it out a lot. So that's where we're excited to have him back. He's always going to be able to shoot the ball. He's shooting a pretty good percentage, but defensively and his energy level is where we're really excited.
Looking forward to seeing him and the rest of the Jackets compete here on the OAC Hardcourt. Best of luck.
All right, thanks, Brennan.
All right, more after this. It's the Jackets and the Quakers coming up next on BWYellowJackets.com. It's time for the Yellow Jackets and the Wilmington Quakers to take the hard court here on BWYellowJackets.com. Thanks for making us a part of your Saturday afternoon. We're certainly glad to have you along board. Brendan Gulick and Jeff Miller with you, and let's give you the starting lineups. We'll start with Casey Hunt's Wilmington Quakers. Casey Hunt assisted by Micah Mills and Kerry Wilkinson. At guard, a really good shooter, junior Christian Jones. He's from Hamilton High School down in the Cincinnati area. At guard, a sophomore, 5'11", only 150 pounds. He's also a Cincinnati native, Kevin Lewis. The point guard is junior DJ Isles. He's from Fayetteville Perry High School, a 5'10", 155-pound junior guard. So a couple of really small guards for Wilmington. At forward, a big sophomore from Central Crossing High School in Columbus, Andrew Russell. And at forward, a freshman from Beach High School in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, Noah Chapman. So it's Jones, Lewis, Isles, Russell, and Chapman for Wilmington. For the BW Yellow Jackets and second-year head coach Tom Heil. He's assisted by Brian Schmidt, Keonta Howell, and Sam Amico. At guard, a senior from Hudson High School, Zach Brandy. At guard, a sophomore from Gahanna Lincoln High School, Jay Battle. At forward, a junior from Medina High School, Mike Kaminsky. At guard, a junior from Vermilion, Cam Kuhn. And junior forward, Jake Featheroff out of Norwalk High School makes the start as well. Couple of differences in that starting lineup today. Jay Battle, Mike Kaminsky, Zach Brandy have basically, in some regard, rotated either as starters or reserves, depending on how things have gone. But this was the starting five on the opening game of the season, Jeff. And I think maybe BW is hoping that using these five against a pretty athletic and young Wilmington team can give them an early spark.
You would think that the veteran leadership of this group is going to be the reason that they're starting again. I like Jay coming off the bench as a spark, but that's why we're up here and Coach Heil's the one making the decision. So this could be the spark that they need coming right out of the gate. Michael
Quiring, a freshman point guard from Brunswick, had started several times, but he'll be a reserve today. Quakers in green, Jackets in white, and off we go in Berea. Both teams 6-6, and both teams are 1-4, surprisingly, in conference play. The win in conference for Wilmington was their last game against Capital, a team that beat BW here a couple of weeks back. That one was deflected out of bounds off of Wilmington and stays on this half of the floor. Baldwin Wallace started the season really good. They had won 5 of their first 6, but they've lost 5 of 6 since then. And right away, Mike Kaminsky is checking out of the game. Freshman Alex Nara takes his spot, and that's obviously a worrisome point there for Kaminsky, who injured his right knee against Capital a couple weeks back, played against Mount Union, and it looks like that's what's bothering him here.
I actually think it's his ankle that he came out because against the Capital game when he went out with an ankle injury, and I think he just retweaked it a little bit. We'll see what happens there.
Okay, well, we'll keep our eye on that. Featheroff can shoot it from deep, and he puts one in. So Baldwin Wallace, who lives and dies by the 3, hits an early one to take the lead.
They're going to need to come out like we talked in the pregame, quick with those to put the Quakers on their back heels right away.
416 schools compete in the men's side of Division III basketball. And BW ranks 10th in the country after the 5-second violation sends it back the other way. DJ Isles with the turnover. BW at 10.3 three-pointers per game, 10th most in the country. They also shoot the 20th most threes because that is their bread and butter. Jay Battle down the lane misfired, and it's cleared away by Wilmington. Isles brings it up the floor and gives to Christian Jones, who likes to attack, but he is a better three-point shooter. Back to Isles, who bounces over to Russell. And Russell goes to the rim, contested for 2.
Nice take there. Patient offense there by the Quakers. Isles went, or it was Isles, I think, that went quickly, and then they came back, so they settled it back down and got the good look.
Andrew Russell, the team's leading scorer, and as a sophomore, they need him to kind of steady the ship. This is such a young Wilmington team with only one senior on the whole roster. That's Malcolm Pittman. Featheroff, another 3. He put it in. Featheroff went down, but no foul was called. He's got 6 early points.
What you want out of your big man, if he can knock down those threes, pull out the offense, make the defense come in, then go back indoor.
Chapman on the post up, banks one home. And Wilmington's got a couple of buckets from close to the basket.
Chapman with the easy layup there. The OAC leader in field goal percentage, too, is Chapman.
67%. 2 out of every 3 he's putting home successfully. Battle from the paint. Found Cam Kuhn, who's at times been good this year. At times he really hasn't been effective. But he is a first-team all-conference performer. As Battle has to try and get one off. That actually was last touched out of bounds by Wilmington, but I think the shot clock expired beforehand. We'll see. Our officials are discussing things, and our officials today are Bryant Berry, Jim Riley, and Don Rice.
I think that should be a 30-second violation, but yep.
Sure is.
And just looking at it, Brendan, now I'm kind of seeing why Jay is starting today, because he's a little bit taller. Michael Clearing is probably about the same size as DJ Isles. You know, they're trying to post Jay up against him down low.
Well, I think Battle has proven to be a slightly better offensive threat than Quiring's been. Michael can shoot the three-point shot really well, but Battle's a kid who last year played his whole freshman year. He is as seasoned as any underclassman on this roster. 6 to shoot for Wilmington. Great defense by Featheroff. He felt the slip screen coming behind him as Lewis was unable to get the pass. Featheroff gives over to the right side. Alex Nara. Remember, he came in for Kaminsky. Featheroff puts it home. It wasn't a clean flush, but it went anyways. A foul goes up before the shot. Casey Hunt not happy that the shot was waved off. It's an 8-4 lead for BW.
Everything seems to be going the way of the Jackets right now, but the Quakers can't hang their heads. They're right in this one, still at 8-4.
Wilmington this year probably a little bit better of a team in the half court, but they do like to push it in transition. Lewis is an open three-point shooter. He'll be a good rhythm guy. Misfires there. This is a very different team from Wilmington College than we've seen the last several years, as Featheroff tries his third. That one was way off. When you had a guy in the paint, an All-American like Malcolm Hurd, it didn't matter what you tried to do to him. Malcolm Hurd was an absolute baller. He was as athletic and physical as anybody that's played in the OAC in the last 10 years. Brandy up the floor after the turnover. Alex Nara bullying his way through, and he missed the layup.
That's been a problem for the Jackets in the last few games in this losing streak. They've not been able to get the easy layups in.
Isles really pressured by Jay Battle. Half the shot clock has expired. Jackets lead by 4 in the opening 5 minutes. No shooter's roll from Russell, but he got his own offensive rebound. Isles will run the show.
A thing that Casey Hunt preaches to his team is crashing those boards. And, yeah, they don't have a Malcolm Hurd, and they're kind of undersized compared to what we've seen in the past, but they're still going to go hard to the board.
Nice job riding from the left side of the floor and then through the right lane from Christian Jones for his first basket. 8-6 in the early going. Cam Kuhn with the basketball, 17.5 per game. Kicks that one out of bounds to turn it over. And in conference play, it's pretty clear that whoever the Yellow Jackets are playing, they're trying to take Cam Kuhn out of the equation.
I think anybody that we play is trying to take Cam Kuhn. He's had his games that he plays very well, like we were talking about, and then there's some games that he just disappears, and that's not just on him. That's the defensive pressure that's applied to him, and you know he doesn't get some of those looks that fall.
A couple of substitutions bring Tyler Colombo and Michael Quiring off the bench. Good high screen. It opens up a three for Nathan Scott, who just misfired. Offensive rebound pulled in by Cameron Moore. Scott is actually one of the team's leading scorers, though he hasn't started a single game all season. There's a turnover, and Battle's in the open court, and he's fouled on the way to the rack.
Good open court foul there. You know, he almost got just got a little more of the hand than he wanted.
Alex Nara and Tyler Colombo, 2 freshman post players that it looks like today are going to have to play more meaningful minutes after Mike Kaminsky had retweaked his ankle. I thought the way he was coming off the floor, it kind of looked like his knee, but you're right, it was the ankle injury in that Capital game. His first free throw goes home.
Let's just hope it is just an ankle that's just slightly sprained, or maybe he'll be back. He just walked by.
Kaminsky did not start the game on Wednesday at Mount Union, but he did play 15 minutes, and he had decent productivity. Battle trying to make them both. He clanks a second one, and the rebound pulled in near midcourt by Acquiring. Great effort. Kuhn wants a spot triple. Just a little too strong.
Will Patrick now into the game for the Quakers as well.
Patrick, the sophomore guard, dribbling on the right wing here. Bounces to the top. Scott feeds Moore. Great defense by Nara. Offensive rebound for Patrick, and he fights his way up for a second opportunity. Boy, it's hard to believe that ball, one, stayed in bounds, and two, nobody got fouled. Baldwin Wallace has led throughout the opening 6 minutes. Nara's open, and he'll shoot it. Driving here, and he missed it.
It's just a complete different look for us to watch these Quakers, because I'm so used to the last few years. They were men amongst boys, how big they were.
I was just thinking how small this Wilmington team looks compared to some teams in the past.
Now it's just Casey Hunt just going to evolve his team into something different. Now he's going to be a quicker, athletic, shorter team.
You got to work with the personnel you got. They're trapping in the backcourt. Acquiring did a good job breaking through it. Cam Kuhn is fouled by William Green, freshman from Roger Bacon High School in the Cincinnati area. Most of this roster for Wilmington, the young men playing for the Quakers, are within an hour and a half of Wilmington College. Most of them are from the Cincinnati, Columbus, or Dayton areas, but there are a couple exceptions. Jordan Richardson is checked in for Baldwin Wallace. He sets the high screen there as Battle juggles the handoff. And it's called over and back.
Coach Heil and Jay Battle don't agree with that, and I'm kind of questioning it too. I don't know if there was, knocked away from Jay, and I don't know if Jay touched it again before it went over.
Certainly close. William Green, Jordan Jones, Will Patrick, the three guards. Cameron Moore at 6'7". Honestly, he's a good athlete, but at the beginning of this season, he's kind of just been a big body in the paint for Wilmington. Patrick pulls toward the top of the key. Wants to drive the left side. Trail pass. Green puts up a triple, and he clanks it too strong. And a long offensive rebound on the miss. And that one was lost out of bounds, but stays with Wilmington. I mentioned that BW shoots a lot of threes, and because they do, they also one of the better teams in the country in hitting those three-pointers. Wilmington is actually the second most prevalent team in the conference when it comes to chucking them from beyond the three-point line. The great equalizer in college hoops. I think Jordan Jones got a little too crafty underneath. He probably could have gone up with the layup. Instead, tried to give it to Cameron Moore, and it ricocheted out of bounds. Both of these teams desperately need a conference win today, each checking in at 1-4 in OAC play. Wilmington coming in on a 3-game winning streak, though. Cam Kuhn goes to the rack and missed a layup.
That's probably the third or fourth already in this first 8 minutes that the Jackets have missed at the rim.
Terrific defense from Colombo, and a foul called underneath the basket. Kyle Nader has also recently checked into the game. Wilmington's last 3 wins are impressive. They beat the Thomas More Saints back on December 19th. Thomas More is actually tied for first place right now in the President's Athletic Conference. Then they beat Trine by 2 points. That's a team that BW played here at home and I thought was a very respectable opponent. As Jordan Richardson got the inbounds pass and tried to go up the floor with it. And then they beat Capital for their first conference win after losing to Mount Union, Ohio Northern, Heidelberg, and Marietta to start the OAC.
That's an impressive win for this team to beat a Capital team who we saw here early in December. They're a very talented team and play great defense, so just an off night anybody can have in this conference.
Jordan Richardson misfires on his first free throw. Only hit 7 of 13 now on the season with that miss. And Baldwin Wallace will take Cam Kuhn off the floor. Kuhn still has not scored in this game.
Look around the conference, games that start at 2 o'clock. John Carroll leads Capital 60-53 with 14 minutes left to go in that one.
Wilmington known for a lot of movement off the basketball. Patrick goes into the corner, 3 ball coming in, it's good. William Green, a triple to tie the game at 9 apiece. And Wilmington will go into their full court press.
Not the former Browns running back, William Green.
I was thinking the same thing. Wilmington, one of a couple teams in the conference that will press at various points throughout the game, but again, they really try to get under your skin. They'll clap their hands together defensively as Brandy tries that 3. Colombo pulls in the offensive rebound and puts it back up and in.
They had a tenacious defense by their quick yet athletic guards, but that right there, the size advantage of Colombo, towered over the guards there and got the rebound.
Will Patrick was listed at 6'2", but when Colombo put his arms up in the air, as Nathan Scott throws one in from distance to give Wilmington their first lead of the game. That just seemed like an outrageous mismatch that favored BW when Colombo got that rebound.
I think Colombo's arms are as long as Will Patrick.
He's tall. In the right corner, Brandy thought about 3, had it poked out of his hands. We'll reset the floor for you in a minute because there's going to be mass substitutions on the Wilmington side. For BW, Richardson checks out, so it's Featherolf back on the floor with Quiring, Nader, Colombo, and Brandy. Wilmington leaves Will Patrick on the floor. Christian Jones re-enters. Nathan Scott out there. Inbound ball pressured by Peyton Smith. Brandy circled toward the left corner. Kevin Lewis started the game. He's back on the floor. 7 to shoot for the Jackets. Nader with 3 on the ticker. Has to hurry. Brandy never got it off. Shot clock violation.
Great defense there by the Quakers. I mean, they're, like we talked about pregame, and we've been talking for the first 9 minutes, swarming. To use the Jacket term, swarming, the Quakers are all over the Jackets on the defensive end.
Not a great start for Baldwin Wallace, but they're going to try to get things going. Down a point midway through the first half. 3 ball on the left wing. Another shot that's pure from Christian Jones this time.
BW came out quick like they wanted to, and now they've just gone ice cold again. Been the statement of what the last 4 games have been for them.
Russell, Jones, and Scott, all really good shooters. Got to keep your eye on them. Quiring on the right wing. Freshman spinning through the lane. And he couldn't roll it home. But Colombo gets another big offensive rebound. Spins and puts one in off the window.
It's exactly the kind of game that Coach Heil and Coach Schmidt wanted Colombo when they brought him here.
Of course, his sister Mackenzie is a star for the BW women's basketball team. Team's leading scorer. They trail in Wilmington this afternoon by 4, but they're still late in the first quarter. I'll give you an update on that one later. That 3 ball missed to the right from Scott, and Jake Featherolf, who's coming off a really nice game at home, cleared the rebound. Quiring, stuttering through the lane, and he finished. Tied at 15 on Michael Quiring's nifty move through the right lane. His first basket of the night. And BW's hit 5, checked at 6 of their first 15 shots from the floor. Peyton Smith was open for a second. Miscommunication, Colombo trying to run it down. It's over and back.
Coach Hunt's going to argue the same way Coach Heil did, and they're not going to reverse this one either. So very close on these both over and back, and I think we just call it a push.
Lots of new faces coming in as Alex Nara replaces Tyler Colombo. So Featherolf and Nara the forwards with Nader, Battle, and Zach Brandy all playing at guard. Midway through the first half, it's an even contest so far in Berea. If you're just joining us, alongside Jeff Miller, I'm Brendan Gulick. Wilmington and Baldwin Wallace both trying to get things rolling in conference play now that we're into January. Nara, a 3, puts it through.
BW going to have to find that other key scoring while Cam Kuhn is on the bench.
That's 3 of 6 now from beyond the stripe. Jones with a nice, strong move to the paint. Missed the layup. The rebound is tipped back up and in, maybe off of Featherolf's hands.
Probably going to give that one to Patrick. No, that's it's Lewis over
Kevin
there.
Lewis.
Yeah, Kevin Lewis was right there, but you're right. I think that might have went off the fingertips of Featherolf.
Each team has 3 3-pointers so far in the game. Featheroff wants to bang around. Now he fades away, and it's too short right out of his hand, you could tell.
Chapman didn't go anywhere. He just stayed right there. He didn't fall for the fake either time and has had his hands straight up.
Noah Chapman actually has played pretty well so far. Wow, great explosiveness to the hoop, but Peyton Smith just lost the handle on it. Zach Brandy. Well, the Jackets turn it over. It's a foul against Alex Nara. Mike Kaminsky just emerged from the locker room, and he was walking under his own power. He did not have his shoes on. He was holding them in his hands. Couldn't tell if his ankle was wrapped up or not, but it was at least good to see him walking under his own power. We'll see if he's able to get back in there after starting tonight for BW.
Even his Hall of Fame father, Ken Kaminsky, who played here, was in underneath here checking on him too. So we'll see. Hopefully that's a good sign that he's being able to walk around. He's a little ginger, but hopefully we'll get him back out there.
DJ Isles passes into the corner. Kevin Lewis with 5 to let it go. Lost the handle. Cam Kuhn trying to race up the floor. Battle, saw an opening, took it, and scores.
Good look there by Battle. I mean, back on the defensive end for the Jackets too. It's not that they just turned it over. The hands are slapping, so I think that's something they worked on in practice the last 2 days.
It's a back and forth game. The Jackets lead it by 3 at the moment. Long 3-ball, good from Christian Jones to tie things up. When he shoots that 3-point shot, the way he lands, he's almost in the splits, and he holds that finish and kind of leans. It's almost like he's trying to lean the ball into the hoop. Kuhn feeds Featheroff on a nice little pass. It's 22-20, Baldwin Wallace.
Back and forth we're going to go, I think, for this entire game. Two teams that are pretty even.
Jones has 10 to lead all scorers. Actually, check that. Featheroff just scored his 9th and 10th points on that basket. But Jones will put in another 3, and now he takes over himself. He's got a game-high 13.
Now we're going to play movie trivia. Back to Hoosiers. Reminds me of that same kid in Hoosiers, that how he shoots.
Brandy in the middle of the paint. Puts it in. Good defense there in the middle of the paint from Wilmington. And Zach Brandy's able to finish. You've got me stumped.
Well, we're going to have to go to the good old internet then and figure out which.
Noah Chapman missed the rim entirely. Kuhn clears it. BW coming up the floor, and I'll tell you what, Cam Kuhn was fouled about 7 times, but no call. Hopefully he can keep his head in the game as he goes back defensively. Here's Christian Jones with 3 Quakers waiting at the scores table. Step back 3 and Featheroff's grill, and that one a little short. BW wants to run the floor. This game has been played at a constant pace, back and forth. You can tell both these teams are a little fatigued at the moment after maybe getting a little winded. Haven't had a stoppage in several minutes.
That's 2 things and I was going to say, that's how Casey Hunt and Coach Heil play. They don't call timeouts.
Now Wilmington wants to take a timeout to reset things here with 5:19 left in the first half. Baldwin Wallace 24, Wilmington 23. Back in just a moment from Ursprung Gymnasium on BWYellowJackets.com. Well, Patrick and Jordan Jones return for Wilmington as William Green gets back on the floor as well. It's Baldwin Wallace 24 and Wilmington 23 late in the first half at Ursprung Gymnasium. Quakers and the Yellow Jackets have both had 500 seasons so far, and at times have played better than that record, but lately BW has kind of reeled. They've lost 4 in a row, all competitive games. They just haven't been able to finish. Wilmington has to hurry, and they didn't get it off. Will Patrick tried the quick trigger, never got through. So BW's defense comes up with a shot clock stand, and there is now 5 minutes left here in our first half.
And the Yellow Jacket women now take the lead down in Wilmington, 14-12 with 2 minutes left to go in the first quarter.
Lady Yellow Jackets have had a great season, 11-1. Battle, great body control going through the paint. 26-23. Ladies just lost their first game of the season on Wednesday night at home against Mount Union. It was a tough game. Mount Union's very good this year. Will Patrick tried to spin it home, and his teammate couldn't tip it in. It was Cameron Moore tried to volley it into the net. Nara wants a triple. He puts one in. Don't see a lot of three-pointers from Alex Nara, but he's able to put one through there, just his 8th of the season. And Baldwin Wallace has a 28-23 lead. Trying to pick up the energy on the defensive end of the floor. Just over 4 minutes left in the opening half. Will Patrick stuttering his way through the lane. And some serious contact results in a foul, and it was a late call, but the right one. Player control foul on Jordan Jones gives BW the basketball back. I think there was little doubt that that was an offensive foul. We have not seen Mike Kaminsky return for Baldwin Wallace since he left the floor in the opening minute of play. Tweaked his right ankle. He is over on the sideline with his teammates, but he has not returned to the hard court. I think Baldwin Wallace is happy with the way things are going so far because the Wilmington pressure hasn't really bothered them yet. Quiring wanted a three. He launched it too strong. And a push on Tyler Colombo sends the basketball back Wilmington's direction.
Just as a quick look, he does have his ankle taped and with an ice bandage on it, or he's got ice on it, so I don't see if we're going to see him soon.
Wilmington bringing the ball slowly up the floor as William Green takes it. Such a young Wilmington team, but I think most of their coaches would tell you that even though they're a young group, they've had so many guys that have had to play big minutes as young players. They feel more experienced than maybe that would show. Gerhardt's in there running the point at this point. Sophomore from Lakewood. Nara, tightly contested. Gerhardt needs a little help. 3 minutes left in the opening half. Great feed by Kuhn to Colombo, who's having a nice game. Tyler Colombo, 6 points, and BW leads it by 7. It's the largest lead of the game for the Yellow Jackets.
Colombo just needs 1 point to tie his career high.
He's been very productive in Kaminsky's absence. Good help side defense. A very late foul on Quiring. The whistle didn't blow until he came back down onto the floor.
Yeah, he hit him. I guess the foul was on his way back down.
Ryan Schmidt likes the defensive effort as he stands and applauds his young freshman guard. And it sends Cameron Moore to the free throw line. He is 0 for 5 on the season. The Wilmington big man puts one in. Everybody in the OAC has lost at least one conference game. Mount Union and Marietta tied for first place at 4-1. Second free throw up and good. Of course, Marietta, one of the top teams in all of college basketball, but their conference loss was to Baldwin Wallace's crosstown rival, John Carroll. A game that was played, I would say at this point is a couple of weeks ago. Colombo back to Gerhardt. Quiring could not be more open, and he makes him count. 33-25.
Just that quickly, the Yellow Jackets turn the switch, and then they get a big run here against the Quakers.
Good pressure from Colombo, who's easily, in my mind, having his best game of the year. 2 minutes to go in the first half. Christian Jones lost the handle.
Gerhardt knocked that one away from him, and unfortunately, Quiring couldn't grab it as it went out of bounds.
He can tell BW is playing inspired basketball on the defensive end of the floor today after the frustrations that they've felt here last couple of weeks. The last win for BW came against Pitt Greensburg as Featheroff was too late trying to block Noah Chapman's shot from behind. Goes to a 6-point game. You might remember that explosive win for BW as Featheroff fakes from 3. Tries the hook shot, it's too flat. The win against Pitt Greensburg, 121-59. BW hit 17 threes. Battle commits a foul on the floor as Christian Jones gets a little frustrated with him. 17 threes in that game was one shy of the school record. And unfortunately, BW has not won a game since. In fact, in 3 of their last 4, they have failed to even reach the 70-point mark. So the offense has kind of evaporated for a BW team that has lived and died by the 3. Well, Jay Battle got called for a foul from the official furthest from the play, but apparently it was enough to draw the whistle.
That was his second, so he's going to sit the last minute 27 on the bench and watch.
Not a big deal to pick up your second foul with only a minute and a half left, but of course Battle probably a little frustrated. The upperclassman, Zach Brandy, takes his spot on the floor. So Christian Jones to shoot 1 and 1. And it did not go for him. Tyler Colombo tiptoes the baseline. Almost looks like we're watching one of the young Yellow Jackets kind of come into his own today. Featheroff gives to Gerhardt, give and go, and he just never had a good handle on it. It's a perfect pass, hit him right in the hands.
Hit him where he didn't want it, his hands. I think he was thinking about going up right away with it and didn't catch it first.
BW has forced 12 first-half turnovers for Wilmington. Chatham lost it underneath.
BW is continually slapping at the ball as they're going up for layups or shots or anything cutting through the lane.
Jackets have started to shoot the basketball at a much higher clip after hitting the first few and then really slowing down as another turnover. Well done by Brandy. Featheroff comes back on the floor and he throws it in. Less than a minute to go.
Great defense there by Brandy to cut in front of the pass and then save it and throw it down the cross court to Featheroff.
BW's connected on 15 of 27 first half shots. Quiring ripped one away from Miles. It's loose and it's picked up by Baldwin Wallace. Another Wilmington turnover. The shot clock is essentially the same as the game clock, but it is still on. Tom Heil is telling point guard Michael Quiring to just treat it as though it's off and hold for that last shot. Less than a 1 second difference. Featheroff the high screen. 4 seconds to go. Featheroff turns, missed it, and there's the horn. That shot from half court will not count. Well, at halftime, Baldwin Wallace has built themselves an 8-point cushion. Remember, Wilmington burned the only time out of the first half. It came at the 5:19 mark, and over the last 5:19, BW outscored Wilmington 11-4, so they really closed the first half strong. Jackets shot the ball at a 54% clip. Wilmington hit 10 of 22, but the teams have both shot the ball well from beyond the arc, each team hitting 50% of their three-point tries. So it's the Yellow Jackets by 8. We'll be back with the second half here shortly on BWYellowJackets.com. Wilmington and Baldwin Wallace at halftime. It's the Yellow Jackets on top, 35-27. Baldwin Wallace has shot the basketball pretty well so far, 54%, and they close the half on an 11-4 run to give themselves a little bit of a cushion going into the second half. But Jeff, this is a Wilmington team that by no means is going to throw the towel in late, and with wins hard to come by for BW lately, they're going to have to put together a good second half here.
Been the thing for the whole season in this 4-game losing streak for the Jackets too. They've played well in the first half and then had terrible second halves that the team has come back and beat them. So with the hot shooting hands that the Quakers are capable of doing, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, they just got to control the ball. 14 first half turnovers. Coach Hunt could not be happy about that.
A couple of other scores from around the conference that are catching our eye. Muskingum beat Heidelberg today 101-94 in a high-scoring affair. John Carroll has a 9-point lead at Capital. That game's late in the second half. Otterbein has taken Mount Union to overtime, and the Cardinals have a 2-point lead. And Marietta, one of the top-ranked teams in the country, is losing at Ada. They're at Ohio Northern, down 44-32 late in the first half. For whatever reason, Ohio Northern just seems to be the most difficult road environment for any team in this conference. Already a 3 attempt from Lewis, and it's no good. And we are off and running in the second half. I think the MVP of the first half, Baldwin Wallace's young forward, Tyler Colombo, 6 points on 3 of 3 from the floor with 3 rebounds and great defense too. He starts the second half in place of the injured Mike Kaminsky. That one stays on this half of the floor as Brandy fought it off of DJ Isles' leg.
Yeah, Quakers are definitely not out of it with the hot hand of Christian Jones, 3 for 4 and from three-point land, and he just doesn't, even when he shoots them, they don't even hit the net. They just go right through.
Colombo, Brandy, Battle, Kuhn, and Featherolf out there to start this half for Baldwin Wallace. Battle is able to find Colombo cutting to the rim, and he banks one in.
Career high on that one now. He's got 8 points.
Terrific day so far for Colombo. I think part of the reason is because of the way he matches up with some of these Wilmington post players. They almost look like clones. Tall, lanky, still growing into their own body. But Colombo's a little stronger than some of his counterparts today. He's muscled his way to the basket. He was able to recover there a little bit defensively and force one out of bounds.
On the flip side, down in Wilmington, the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets lead the Quakers 36-29 at half.
That's on the ladies' side if you're just joining us. The men are competing here in Berea today. Christian Jones off the inbound pass, missed it from the corner. A lot of times Wilmington is able to set a couple of screens and free up baseline jump shots like that. But Tyler Colombo is called for a foul, which will immediately send BW back down defensively. Mentioned that Mount Union and Marietta are the top 2 teams in the OAC entering today. This is the 6th conference game of the year, and those 2 squads enter today at 4-1. Blocked from behind by Kuhn. There's a host of teams that are right behind them, though. Capital, John Carroll, Ohio Northern, all 3-2 at the start of the day. Featherolf. Great feet underneath, and Colombo got crushed under the basket.
And if everything stays pat as what we gave scores, we're going to have everybody with 2 losses in the conference. And John Carroll's going to jump right up to the top there after struggling out of the gate.
Yeah, remember the Blue Streaks last year started 21-0. They were arguably the best team in all of D3 basketball as Colombo's free throw goes up and in. That was until these Yellow Jackets went to University Heights last year for one of the biggest wins in program history. Jay Battle hit a couple of free throws with just 3 seconds left to put BW up 79-78. And John Carroll's 3-point heave from half court at the buzzer did not go, and BW pulled off an unbelievable upset. It was actually the first of 3 straight losses that John Carroll suffered before going on a nice tear through the OAC tournament. John Carroll hosted the NCAA tournament last year. BW unfortunately did not qualify. Isles feeds it underneath to Chapman, and I think that one got carried. No, it's 3 in the key, and it goes back the other way. Anyways, point being, Baldwin Wallace has seen some adverse circumstances before, and that John Carroll team that was so good last year only lost a couple of pieces. But you're right, they were really slow coming out of the gate this season.
I can't remember whether they were like 2-5 coming out of the gate. Something really unbelievable for a team that was picked to compete for the conference championship and be high in the region.
They were, again, 21-0 to start last season. It was the longest winning streak in John Carroll program history. Their schedule this season, they lost to Mount St. Joe's, who's proven to be actually very good this season. They started the year down at a tournament at Mount St. Joe's, losing to the host Lions and then losing to Hanover on a tip-in at the buzzer. John Carroll then beat LaRoche, lost at home to a Good Hope team, who is almost always in contention in the MIAA. And then they lost to Muskingum, and that was maybe Muskingum's first really big win. Of course, Muskingum's next game was against BW, and BW found out that the Muskies were for real. Featheroff wants a three. It doesn't roll home for him.
That quickly could have been a dagger quickly for the Quakers here if Featheroff hit that, because they're not playing very well here in the second half.
Chapman blocked underneath but fouled by Colombo.
I believe Colombo's going to probably have to take a seat with only 3 minutes gone here, and that's his third foul.
And it brings Alex Nara off the bench as Chapman goes to the free throw line. John Carroll's recovered nicely after that slow start, though. They beat Mount Union and Marietta, which was the big win. Lost at Ohio Northern on a buzzer beater. A couple of free throws coming, and Chapman hits the first. And then the Blue Streaks have won their last 3 in a row entering today, so maybe John Carroll's starting to wake up just a little bit. Of course, looking forward to the game between the Blue Streaks and the Yellow Jackets. They'll have 2 meetings this season, and the first of those 2 is not far from now. It'll be in University Heights on Wednesday, January 18th. It's a 7 o'clock start. John Carroll will come here to Berea on Wednesday, February the 8th.
Chapman's second attempt was waved off because of lane violation by one of the Quakers. But I was going to say, he's not a very good free throw shooter. He's only taken, that would be only his 10th made and his 30th attempt of the year.
There have definitely been some bad free throw shooting numbers, but a couple of really good free throw shooters for Wilmington have made up the difference. Baldwin Wallace leads the game by 11 points. Brandy with 5 to shoot. Blocked in the lane, the ball lands out of bounds. There are 2 seconds left on the shot clock. Battle will inbound for BW. It's tipped up to Featheroff and in.
Pretty little play there. That Quakers were looking for a catch and shoot, and Battle just laid it up for a tip by Featheroff.
He's got 14. Three ball right wing. Some contact, no foul called as Nathan Scott throws one in from distance.
Coach Hunt, I agreed. I was surprised there was no call there.
Featheroff coming off of a game. In fact, his last 2 games, he's had 18 and 15 rebounds. Today, he's got 5 boards with his game-high 14. Battle a triple. Too strong. The weak side rebound pulled in by Kevin Lewis. Baldwin Wallace by 10 early second half. Scott wants another. And it rolled over the rim, no good. Battle into the forecourt. Cam Kuhn had the handoff juggle and apparently was last touched by DJ Isles. Michael Quiring returns, his first action in the second half. He replaces the senior Zach Brandy. Isles and Jones both check out as Jordan Jones comes back on with Will Patrick. Battle never had that one cleanly. Now it's loose on the floor and Featheroff rips it away from everyone.
William Green also checked in with that 3.
Nara's bank shot missed. Chapman clears it. Scott with a bounce pass up top. Jordan Jones off the dribble. Tough move going to the basket, and he's going to go to the free throw line. His ability to keep possession of the basketball, moving the ball up and around in a counterclockwise motion, and then got a clean shot off while getting hit, was impressive in its own right.
And a final down there in Westerville. Otterbein holds on to win 86-84. They were up 86-81 with 4 seconds left, and Dayallen Jackson hits a 3 to cut it to 2, but time expires, so Mount Union suffers its second loss in the conference.
Kyle Nader in the ball game once again. Jay Battle has a seat. So the Mount Union Purple Raiders, who just beat the BW Yellow Jackets on Wednesday night, fall to 4-2 in the OAC, and then at the moment they are a half game behind Marietta, whose game is not yet final. Nader from the right elbow passes to Featherall, and from just a couple feet away, the rim was unkind.
And another final, John Carroll did hold on to beat Capital 102-93. Some high-scoring games in the conference today.
Oh, it fell off the side of the rim, but Chapman stayed with it. 41-34.
And then, as you said, Marietta's trailing by 9 at halftime to Ohio Northern.
Alex Nara out of control, offensive foul. Tom Hyle was saying that he was outside the arc, but apparently the feet were set. Wilmington starting to get a little life, and you got to be careful because the way this team feeds off of its own momentum, they can quickly put that domino effect into play, probably better than anybody else in the OAC.
Quick turnover and get another easy basket. So yeah, this game is far from over with 14 minutes left to go.
Jones, the crossover and the shot off the mark. Jordan Richardson on the carom. Casey Hunt trying to inspire his group on the defensive end is Cam Kuhn, who has had a very quiet day at 5 points. Passes to Nara, and that's a double dribble.
What we talked about just a few minutes ago, that momentum shift with the Jackets. They come out strong, and then they kind of just get into a lull, and we've seen it for the last 4 games. We didn't see it in that Pitt Greensburg game because that game was just out of control. It was shooting, but you now see this lull continuing now in the 5th straight game.
Who's going to be the guy to step up? Patrick for 3, nothing but net. No timeout on the floor. The whistles were blown because the net was so purely struck, it spun back up through the rim. Wilmington only down 4, and they go into that press. Gerhardt passes to Nader across the timeline in time.
Interesting look for the Jackets right now as all the starters are on the bench.
Nara back to Quiring, who is very capable, and he puts one in and one. Michael Quiring with a brilliant move on the baseline.
Not sure where that foul call came from, but perfect opportunity for a 3-point play and slow this Quaker roll down.
Calmly puts in the free throw. 44-37. Quiring's got 8 off the bench, including a 3-pointer late in that first half. So the Jackets once again lead by 7 as Scott fades away. That one caromed off to the right. Cameron Moore pulled it in for Wilmington. Jones, finger roll didn't fall in, and then Jones knocked it out of bounds as Kyle Nader tried to pull it in. So John Carroll's win at Capital puts the Blue Streaks at 4-2. Mount Union's loss at Otterbein puts the Purple Raiders at 4-2. Capital and Otterbein are both now 3-3 in conference play. We'll keep our eye on that Marietta game in Ohio Northern as that one gets later. A foul is called. No jump ball. It's a foul on Wilmington. The officials were patiently waiting for somebody to possess it before calling a jump ball. And then they decided that a foul was more necessary. Baldwin Wallace's largest lead of the game was 11 points, 39-28. Shot clock should reset because the foul was called and not a jump ball. So they'll re-inbound it. Alex Naro receives it. Like requiring really pressured well beyond the three-point line. Richardson's pass not deflected by Will Patrick. It's Quaker ball. That's the 12th Baldwin Wallace turnover. Jeff, you made note at halftime that Wilmington had given it away 14 times. Only 2 second-half turnovers in the first 7 minutes.
And 4 for the Jackets in the second half.
Will Patrick goes to work on Nara. He blows by him and slips it under his outstretched arm. 44-39.
This second unit for the Jackets has to just possess and maintain this lead for the starters to get a little breather.
Nader looking cross court, goes to Richardson instead. 10 to go. Gerhardt was tripped but recovered. Nader pumps, deep 2, got it.
Pretty shot there with a hand in his face from Nathan Scott too. Luckily he got that away and up high enough over him.
That was a tough shot, no doubt. Nader's first basket of the game. Back to a 7-point lead for Baldwin Wallace as Will Patrick tries to initiate the offense with half the shot clock already expired. Scott fades in the right corner. It was too short. And Alex Nara pulls in the rebound. Baldwin Wallace trying to snap a 4-game losing streak. They're playing well in the second half. A lot of game in front of them, though. Richardson right back to Nara for 3. Too strong. William Green up the floor quickly. The lead pass for Cameron Moore and 1.
Nifty pass. I didn't think Moore was going to catch it. Somehow got enough of the hand on it and got fouled by Richardson as he went up with it.
Baldwin Wallace, as you mentioned, did not have a starter on the floor, but still had a pretty good group of athletes that compete pretty hard. Jake Featheroff will spare Jordan Richardson for a moment. Meanwhile, Andrew Russell, the team's leading scorer, back off the bench. Russell's been a little quiet today, only 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting. Oh my goodness, how did that not go in?
How did it stay there?
Featheroff had the rebound and almost threw it away. Baldwin Wallace needs to protect the basketball right now. Wilmington has only cashed in on 8 points off of 12 BW turnovers. On the other side, BW 16 points off of 16 Wilmington turnovers. Acquiring hung in suspension and knew he was in a tough spot. Another giveaway as Peyton Smith grabbed it. Deep 3, and it's off the mark. Russell's shot rolls into the corner. Tom Heil gave some passionate instructions to Jay Battle as Alex Nara checks out. Battle can handle the basketball a little better than Nara can. Probably the reason that he's on the floor here in a high pressure situation. Acquiring got out of the double team. That was an easy foul call as Gerhardt got clocked at midcourt. He's okay. And that's the 5th foul on Wilmington. Just the first on Moore.
This team with that press is going to play havoc on the Jackets the rest of the game and the conference this whole season. They're quick.
No game in the OAC is easy. And each team presents a slightly different challenge, but you're right, this Wilmington press, hard to replicate. Featheroff fakes, pulls up, and got it. 48-41, Jake Featheroff has 16. Another terrific day from the all-conference senior. Stolen away by Nader. Quiring has an opening, and he finished at the rim. Baldwin Wallace taking advantage, and they've got a 9-point lead. Timeout, Yellow Jackets with 10:15 left in the second half. BW with a 9-point edge on bwyellowjackets.com. Ninth time in 13 games this season that Jake Featherolf has gotten into double figures. His 16 points leads all scorers as BW has a 9-point edge midway through the second half. Russ Gerhardt with a steal underneath the basket, so BW gets the ball right back. Brendan Gulick and Jeff Miller with you. It's the 6th OAC game of the season for both Baldwin Wallace and Wilmington. Two teams desperate for a win in conference, and Jay Battle is going to go to the free throw line. Wilmington's won 3 in a row. BW has lost 4 in a row, but both teams come into play at 6-6 overall and 1-4 in conference. And even though BW has a fairly sizable lead, this has been a very competitive game from really start to finish so far.
Very two evenly matched teams that just, the turnovers are shooting the Quakers in the foot right now.
51-41, Jay Battle with 6 points. Jay's first name is actually Genesis, but prefers to go by Jay. Second free throw up and good. He's as calm a free throw shooter as Tom Heil has. Loves having Jay at the line in pressure situations. Chapman. Kevin Lewis for 3. He got a really clean look, and it just popped away on him.
Kind of looks like a mirror image of what happens has been happening to the Yellow Jackets. They're going to kind of go in cold shooting right now, and they're getting themselves further and further out of contention.
Gerhardt, or rather Brandy, fed it down to Featherolf, who went right back to him. Kyle Nader accidentally kind of fell into Wilmington's Andrew Russell.
That's one of those plays right there. I'm glad that Russell got up, just how they collided there and how Nader fell on him. That could have been severe knee damage for Russell. So luckily nobody's hurt, and just a missed foul there that just everybody were collided.
Speaking of injuries, if you joined us late, upperclassman for Baldwin Wallace, Mike Kaminsky, started this ball game, and in the opening possession of the game appeared to retweak his right ankle, which held him out of a couple of conference games last week. 3 ball good from Andrew Russell. It's 52-44. Look at this on-ball pressure from Battle. He throws it off of Wilmington out of bounds. Casey Hunt is really giving it to head official Bryant Berry. Tyler Colombo on the inbound pass. He's having himself a career day. Colombo's got 10 points. And he's played excellent defense as Brandy explodes to the hoop, and he's going to go to the free throw line. Zach Brandy got jarred pretty good underneath the basket. He'll try to recollect himself before heading to the stripe. Hard to believe that Cam Kuhn has been such a little factor offensively today for Baldwin Wallace, and that the Jackets have a 9-point lead after that free throw.
only seen action in about 19 minutes of the game. He hasn't been in for a while.
Kuhn is an electrifying scorer. Last year had 51 in one game. The 40th men's player in program history to hit the 1,000 point mark. Chapman in the low post feeds DJ Isles, who floats to the basket and puts in the runner. But Cam Kuhn lately just hasn't been a big factor for Baldwin Wallace. A foul on Gerhardt, and it goes the other direction.
And to follow up with that, and as great of a player he is, he gets into these lulls, and last year it was a little later in the year, so Coach Howe can look at it this way, that he's got his lull here early, so he'll be fresh and hot and ready to go again for the final push of the season.
His season high is 31, and he had that at Muskingum. But in this stretch of games where Baldwin Wallace has lost 5 of their last 6, Cam really hasn't been a big factor, even on days where he's put up good total numbers. Like at Mount Union, he finished the game with 22 points, but most of his points were late when Mount Union had the lead. Speaking of having the lead, Christian Jones is trying with all his might to push Wilmington back out in front. It's now a 5-point affair.
And he buried that 3 in with Colombo's long arms in his face.
Featherolf with a foul underneath the basket. It's on the floor, and he'll shoot 1 and 1. Jake Featherolf almost committed the foul.
I think he got away with one there because DJ Isles is like, what else do I got to do? I'm a little guy here, and he put a forearm through my face.
Just to wrap up our thoughts on Cam Kuhn's struggles, his toughest game of the year, 2 games back, had just 5 points in 31 minutes against Rose Holman. That was, of course, the consolation match for, I should say the consolation matchup, the consolation game of the BW Holiday Invitational.
And even when he has his lulls of point scoring, he does everything else on the floor. It just seems right now that everything is not going the way for Kuhn, because he has those assists, he has the rebounds, the steals, but it has just all been low numbers in this little bit of lull he's going through.
Well, and so much of what makes Cam a successful player is his ability to get going early in a game. And you're right, that doesn't always mean what he does scoring the basketball, but he's out there at a critical spot right now, just past the midway point of the second half. Baldwin Wallace is trying to hold off Wilmington's push. DJ Isles misses a point-blank shot, and Zach Brandy was apparently on the baseline when he pulled in the rebound. So it stays down there.
He was guarding Isles on that layup attempt, and he went out of bounds, and when the rebound came down, he was trying to come back in, and he was still out of bounds when he caught it.
Lewis off the inbound, almost traveled, but maintained his pivot foot. Christian Jones can let it go from deep. Russell explodes to the rim, and he got fouled late. It goes on Tyler Colombo. That's his 4th personal foul. Colombo has actually played more. You mentioned his career high against Trine. He had 7 points back on November the 26th. And the free throw is no good.
This is the opportunity that Wilmington needs to hit to get back in this game while the clock is stopped. Just a 71% free throw team as a team on the year.
Russell hits 1 of 2. 6-point affair.
BW electing to go small instead of the Colombo for Nara for Colombo. They bring in Nader.
Kyle Nader back off the bench. All right, so Battle, Kuhn, Brandy, and Featherolf work out there with Nader. Brandy apparently unharmed on the way to the basket. 2-possession game with under 7 minutes to play. Russell works over to Isles. Good perimeter defense. William Green from in the top of the key, it didn't go in. Wilmington is one of the worst rebounding teams in the conference, and it's hurting them today as Cam Kuhn explosively went to the rack there.
I think Russell could have just let him go. He was kind of out of control there and might not even have gotten the layup to go in.
The Quakers, and it has a lot to do with their size, folks, they're being out-rebounded on average by more than 8 rebounds per game. And it's going to be very difficult to win games consistently, Jeff, in the OAC when you can't win the glass, at least in a competitive fashion. If you're being out-rebounded by 8 per night or more, that's not going to fare well.
And for them to have a 6-6 overall record and being 1-3 in the or 1-4 in the conference, that's still impressive. You got 6 wins and being out-rebounded like that for a team that, for the last few years, and we can't keep reiterating how great that team was with Malcolm Hurd, but for a team that was the leading rebounders in the conference region nation, that's a big switch here for Coach Hunt.
Isles gives over left side to Jordan Jones. It's mishandled in the right corner, but collected once more. Isles with nice ball handling. He puts it in and one. Add that one to the DJ Isles highlight reel. Behind his back, in front of him, spinning, quiring around, and then finishing after pump faking him.
Kind of like White Chocolate Williams. How he used to throw the ball behind him and then come back with it and never let go of it. So that was a pretty play.
Isles makes the three-point play matter with the or I should say with the free throw. It's a 5-point effort. Battle runs the point. Featheroff is wide open, and he drills it.
Moore was following for the trap and didn't even think about Featheroff staying wide open at the 3.
Featheroff with a season-high 21 points. Baldwin Wallace by 8. Isles bobbled it, got it back, forced up an air ball as Featheroff pulls in the rebound.
I think Quiring took his elbow off his face, but he's still okay.
5 minutes to play as BW is trying to snap this 4-game losing streak. Featheroff diving on the hard court. It still comes away for the Quakers. Cameron Moore for 2. Officials timeout on the floor as one of Wilmington's players got a little tangled up in that diving effort. I think that's Jordan Jones, though he's laying on the ground and having a hard time reading his number.
We got a barn burner going down in Wilmington as the BW women's team is tied with Wilmington at 44 with 42 seconds left to go in the third. So lots of game left down in Wilmington for the women's team.
We'll keep our eye on that one as well. Under 5 minutes to play here, it is Jordan Jones that sits up. He got jarred pretty good as he and Featheroff both dove for that loose ball near the scorer's table. Baldwin Wallace 61, Wilmington 55.
And in the big update, the number 13 team in the region, or the country, is trailing the Ohio Northern Polar Bears, which would be the Marietta Pioneers, by 13 with 8 minutes left to go in regulation, 79-66. So we could have a compacted conference standings by the end of the day.
Not only that, that's exactly what BW needed. If they can come up with a win today and have each of the top 2 teams lose, they're going to make up some ground. Obviously, you can only control what's in front of you, but it's nice to get some help when you need it. Battle and Quiring help break that tough press. Featheroff was open. He's had a great day with 3 threes. Foul called before the shot. Featheroff's hit 8 of 14. 21 points and 8 rebounds. Quiring and Colombo both with 10. Round out the double-figure scorers for BW. Featheroff with a couple of free throws coming because Wilmington's put themselves over the 10-foul threshold. Featheroff missed the first. Christian Jones, the only double-digit scorer so far for Wilmington. He's hit 4 threes. He's got 14. And he splits the pair.
And he had 11 at the break, so that just tells you that the Quakers are not shooting the ball as well as they were in the first half.
BW burns a timeout. We'll take it with them. Full timeout for the Jackets. They're up 7 with 4:36 to play at home here on BWYellowJackets.com. Our coverage of Yellow Jackets basketball this afternoon is brought to you by the Oriole Cafe, a great place for sports. Located at 294 North Rocky River Drive in Berea, just a couple minutes from campus. Great place to go before or after any Yellow Jacket contest. Brendan Gulick and Jeff Miller with you. It's 62-55 BW. Jake Featheroff with a season-high 22. He's been really good for Tom Heil's group, but they've still got a tough 4:30 in front of them to try to hold off a Wilmington team that could erase a 7-point deficit quickly with the way they shoot it. Nathan Scott threw up a brick. Cameron Moore, the offensive rebound, was jarred out of his hand. Kyle Nader trying to keep the numbers in favor of BW here. That was the 9th offensive rebound for Wilmington today. Quakers are actually only being out-rebounded by 1 this afternoon. Battle, and 1! Jay Battle with 9 points, looking for 10.
Looking to become the 4th BW player to score in double figures today. Kind of mirroring of what happened on Wednesday night. They had 4 players scoring double figures, but this time they're on top of on the right side of the scoreboard.
Chapman, Patrick, and Russell all return for Wilmington. Baldwin Wallace has gotten good balance. 27 points from their bench this afternoon. 10 of them from Quiring and 10 more from Tyler Colombo as Battle completes the 3-point play and stretches the Baldwin Wallace lead back to 10. Final 4 minutes of regulation. BW has not won a game yet in the 2017 calendar year. In fact, their last win was December 14th. Isles with a great bounce pass to a cutting Chapman, and 1. So Chapman could make this a 7-point game if he hits the free throw. Noah Chapman has 9 points, and with 1 free throw coming, could get into double figures. Check that, he's actually got 11 points. And it's up and good, so now he's got 12. The scoreboard in the gymnasium must not have counted one of his baskets. So Chapman's got 12, and it's 65-58. Hope you'll stick with us for our post-game coverage. We're looking forward to hearing from either head coach Tom Heil or assistant coach Brian Schmidt in our post-game interview, which will come up shortly after the conclusion of this one. Hopefully it's a happy interview as Battle dribbled it off of a Quaker foot but got it back. Casey Hunt thought that it was a violation. 5 to go. Cam Coon step back, has to throw it up, and it's good! Cam Coon, deep 3. A 5-point game for Coon, but Baldwin Wallace leads by 10. Michael Quiring just threw his arms up in the air and tried to jar it out of Andrew Russell's hands. Quiring just got hit for his 4th. And both teams are in the double bonus.
Just in the wrong place at the wrong time again. He got caught getting underneath with the big guys.
Jackets will be back on the floor on Wednesday night. On the men's side, they'll be at Ohio Northern. So the free throw from Russell is good. Big 6'6" forward from Columbus. He's had a decent game, but not necessarily living up to his standards. On the ladies' side, Ohio Northern, one of the top 15 teams in college basketball, is coming to Berea on Wednesday night. We'll have pregame coverage starting 15 minutes prior to tip for that one. Russell hits them both. Back to an 8-point affair. Again, both teams in the double bonus. And for what it's worth, both teams have 4 timeouts remaining.
Not that they like to use them.
Battle. Had it stripped. Kevin Lewis. Blocked out of bounds. Featherall from behind.
Nice recovery by Featheroff to get down there and not hit him with the body as he was going up.
All of the Wilmington fans that made the trip from southwestern Ohio did not like the no foul call. Acquiring exits with his 4. Off the inbound. Jones banks it in. Timeout. No timeout awarded. Casey Hunt tried to call for it, but they never gave it to him. And a foul on Baldwin Wallace. That's the second on Zach Brandy. Because of the nature of that foul, it will not result in free throws for Wilmington. But again, both teams are in the double bonus. I'm not sure what Zach Brandy was doing there.
I'm not sure if Coach Heil was going to the hack-a-shack on DJ Isles or not, because it looked like he was yelling and then Brandy quick grabbed him.
I mean, it was very clear that Zach Brandy was trying to foul him.
And he's an 88% free throw shooter, so that's not the person you want to foul, so not sure what that call was.
Maybe just a mental lapse there from Brandy. You'd like to think that wasn't the case. As a senior, it can still happen. Isles hit both of them. Costly mistake. And Casey Hunt wants a 30-second timeout. We got a 4-point game with 2:17 left in regulation. Wilmington making a late surge in Baldwin Wallace. Baldwin Wallace basketball brought to you by American International. When you require a company with proven performance, rely on American International. BW 68, Wilmington 64 with just over 2 minutes to play. The Yellow Jackets had a 10-point lead just a couple minutes ago. In fact, it wasn't even that. It was more like a minute and a half ago. But Wilmington's ripped off 6 straight points and made this a 4-point contest.
Kind of a resemblance of the Adrian game of the first game of the holiday tournament. BW had a 6-8 point lead in that one too, and it diminished real quick.
Featheroff a season high 22 as Wilmington nearly caused another turnover. There have been 34 turnovers in this game, 18 for Wilmington, 16 for BW. 2 minutes to go. Quiring with the ball. He's got 4 fouls defensively. Battle feeds Kuhn. 5-point day for Cam Kuhn. He's got 5 to shoot it. Goes to the hoop, and he missed it. No foul.
Good.
Wilmington could cut this 4-point deficit in half or more. Isles short on the layup. Time is on BW's side, but Kuhn needs to get across midcourt, and he does in time. Both teams in the double bonus, so there is still, in theory, a lot of game in front of us. Battle. Back to Featherall for 3. Just to the left. Wilmington grabs it. Jones into the forecourt. Back to Isles. Patrick for 3. It was in rhythm, but it popped away. And then Kevin Lewis called for a foul. Wilmington's had a couple of good looks. They just didn't go.
That one looked like it was no doubt about it and just popped out. Last time Wilmington has beat the Jackets was in the 2013-14 season in the OAC second round when they beat them in Wilmington. So looking to snap a 5-game losing streak, and they're right here.
Baldwin Wallace is trying to snap a 4-game losing streak this season. Featherall with 2 big free throws, and he missed the first. Either way, it was still going to be a 2-possession game. But now things get dicey. Russell back in. He's obviously with good size. Got a better matchup with Cam Kuhn on his back. Featherall hits the second, and Baldwin Wallace wants a timeout. 69-64 as BW calls a 30-second stoppage. We'll keep it here just to give you an idea of what else is going on around the conference, because this game has certainly some early conference projections on the line. Marietta is still losing at Ohio Northern. Under 4 minutes to go, they're down by 9. Mount Union already lost today in overtime at Otterbein. And John Carroll went down to Capital and beat the Crusaders. We've got a real logjam. There's going to be several teams at either 4-2 or 3-3 by the end of the day, most likely.
And Muskingum will be one of those teams as they blew up. They won 101-94 against Heidelberg today too. So, yeah, you're going to have 4 teams potentially at 4-2 and 3 teams at 3-3. And
well, it's good news for the winner of this game, who would move to 2-4 in conference play. They'd pick up some much-needed ground. Under a minute to go. Russell. It was deflected, no foul. Nader jarred it loose, and then he just got fouled in the top of the key. Kyle Nader's going to the free throw line. Fouls on Andrew Russell, who got tied up with the spirited BW sophomore. Two big free throws here. Baldwin Wallace has to take care of business at the line. They've done a pretty good job today, but one of their 3 misses came just a minute ago out of Featherall's hands. And Nader misfires. BW is now 12 of 16 shooting free throws on the day, but they've missed a couple in the clutch. That one's good. 70-64. Wilmington's hit 9 out of 18 from beyond the 3-point line. This is still a 2-possession game.
And the Quakers have not scored a point since the pair of free throws by Isles at the 2:18 mark.
Isles just fouled by Brandy. That's his 4th. That's the worst thing for BW. Wilmington has a chance now to score with no time coming off the clock.
And after those last 2, Isles is 17 of 19 on the season.
He calmly puts it up and in. Kevin Lewis returns. He replaces Nathan Scott. Michael Quiring's back out there in place of Kyle Nader. Isles makes it a 4-point game. Here comes the pressure from the Quakers. Battle is double teamed. He gets out of it. Quiring's pass deflected, but Kuhn has it, and then he's fouled in the forecourt by Will Patrick. That's going to come down to BW's ability to hit their free throws in the clutch.
And not the person the Quakers probably wanted to put on the line is Cam Kuhn.
Cam Kuhn is money from the free throw line. First one is good.
A little scare there as he rolled it over the front of the rim.
Kuhn almost 83% on the season. Quiet day for him, but he could make the most of his small effort if he puts in another one here. It's good. Timeout, Baldwin Wallace. They're going to call a full timeout with a 6-point lead and 34 seconds left in regulation.
Got both good games here between the Baldwin Wallace basketball teams as the BW women's team trails the Quakers by 3 points with 1:31 left to go in regulation down in Wilmington. So hang on both sides here. We'll give you an update on that one as it hangs on, but 6-point lead right here for the home Jackets. The road Jackets trailing.
Baldwin Wallace up 72-66. So Marietta losing, Mount Union lost. They'll both fall to 4-2 after starting the day tied for first place in the conference. Otterbein with a big win on the road in overtime at Mount Union. Muskingum won. They beat Heidelberg in a high-scoring game, 101-94. If Marietta loses to Ohio Northern, that's going to make a lot of teams across the conference take a big, deep breath, because then the top-ranked team in the OAC will have lost 2 of their first 6 games. And I think it just goes to show the strength of the conference this season. Entering today, Jeff, of the 10 teams, only 1 had a sub-500 overall record.
That just credit to all the coaches in this league and the talent they find and the scheduling outside of the conference, you know. So it's one of those things. This is going to be a dogfight till the end. So 1 through 8, and you're never going to know who's going to be there till the end.
Deep off-balance 3 from Scott was too short, but the rebound pinballs back to Jones. He lost it, and Casey Hunt gets the timeout. Tom Heil with $1 million smile on his face. It was probably more one of disbelief than anything else.
That pinballed everywhere, and I think the smile is 23.5 seconds left, and it's a quick timeout that they didn't get the easy layup, and they're trying to press right away. So
don't kid yourself. That was a "you got to be kidding me" smile. It just isn't bouncing BW's way lately, though today they seem like they're going to be in good spot.
Well, you can ask them in the post-game interview if that was the $1 million smile.
Under 25 seconds left in regulation. We'll step aside for just a moment. BW by 6 here at home. Jackets and Quakers out of their respective huddles with the game on the line. Wilmington has to score here. Isles gives to Jones. Back to Isles for 3. Buries it. Timeout, Wilmington. 72-69. Wilmington alive with that big 3 ball.
And it's been the DJ Isles show the last 2 minutes of this game. Exactly 2 minutes, because he scored their last 7 points, 4 from the foul line, and then just now that 3-pointer.
DJ Isles with a big 3-point basket. He's got 8 points in the game, and Wilmington has made this a 1-possession deficit. Both teams in the double bonus, so if free throws become part of the equation late. I would think BW feels comfortable with their ability to shoot free throws, especially if they get the right guys at the line. Cam Kuhn is very good. Jake Featherolf, excellent. Jay Battle is also pretty good at the free throw stripe. Those would definitely be the top 3 options for BW. You know Wilmington's going to come with pressure. The Quakers have 1 timeout remaining, and BW has 2 left in their back pocket. The Jackets, by the way, will have the ball on the baseline under the basket, so they'll have to go the full length of the floor here.
And things don't get easier for the Jackets after tonight, as they have to go to Ohio Northern, who's up by 8 points with 1:17 left against the number 13 team in the country.
Chapman, Jones, Patrick, Isles, and Lewis all out on the floor for Wilmington. Featherolf, Quiring, Battle, Kuhn, and Brandy for Baldwin Wallace. Shot clock is off. Just under 19 seconds left. Featherolf double teamed. Is that a foul or a timeout? I think it was a timeout called for. Tom Heil didn't want to trap his big man in the corner in a bad spot. Full timeout for BW.
And it looks as if we have a final down in Wilmington. The Wilmington Quakers hang on to hand the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets just their 2nd loss of the season and their 2nd straight by a final of, well, now they put time back on the clock. So I'm not sure what's going on. So it's 56-53 with 7 seconds left to go on in the game. So watching now, it's 57-53. So pretty much is a ball game, but 7 seconds left to play. We did witness a 4-point play or a couple 4-point plays in the tournament.
Well, it's not only that. You might remember on the ladies' side of the tournament, Worcester was losing by 5 with 5 seconds left and tied the game with 3 free throws with no time on the clock to force overtime. So it's not over until you've got 3 zeros across the clock.
I'm sorry, I thought it was already according to the live stats. So you know those things happen with stats. So
it's okay. That's all right. BW leads by 3, each team with 1 timeout remaining. And the Jackets want to make sure they've got their best free throw shooters on the floor. I think that's probably the 5 they've got out there. Brandy to inbound. And he'll burn that last time out. All right. Wilmington feeling like they're gaining a little momentum here. They hit a 3 to cut the 6-point deficit in half. And then the Quakers force BW to use their final timeout. If you're BW here, who do you want the ball on the inbounds pass to go to?
I think they were trying to get it to Cam Kuhn that whole time, but it's I give credit to Kevin Lewis. He's like a jumping bean over there. He's so hard to get the ball around it. His wingspan and how he jumps up and down, he's just hard to get the ball around. I mean, if on the floor, if it's Cam, to me, it's got to be going to Cam Kuhn or Jake Featherolf. Those would be my 2 that are on the floor. Since Brandy's inbound, and Brandy's a pretty good free throw shooter, so maybe they're going to switch it up here, and he's not the person to throw it in, and maybe one of the bigger guys will throw it in.
By the numbers on the season, the top 3 free throw shooters for BW in order: Featherolf, Kuhn, and Battle. But Brandy's not bad himself, connecting on 2 out of 3.
Acquiring is not bad either.
Wilmington going to try to draw up the best defense they can. Depending on how quick this possession goes, if Wilmington gets a turnover, they don't need a 3. If they got a quick, easy bucket, I think they could settle with 2. You're right, Featherolf will be the inbounder. Chapman guarding the inbound. Featherolf lobs it to Kuhn in the forecourt, and he's fouled immediately. It looked worse than it was actually supposed to be. Isles was not trying to tackle him. And Battle backs away from Kevin Lewis.
Cooler heads prevailing there. It's getting a little out of control for just a simple touch foul.
That's the 4th on DJ Isles. And again, that was more Kuhn losing his balance, and then it looked bad, but I don't think Isles had any real malintent.
He was trying to pick him up off the ground.
Cam Kuhn misses the first. That makes this second free throw all that much bigger. He's got to hit this to make it a two-possession game. Got it. 73-69. Isles gives to Jones. Well guarded, shoots a three anyways. No good. Kuhn the rebound for BW. The Jackets can dribble out the clock. The four-game losing streak is finally over. Baldwin Wallace 73, Wilmington 69. Jake Featherolf with a big day, 21 points, 8 of 14 shooting. He had 8 rebounds. It was a season high for him scoring the basketball. He had 3 early threes, played good defense. Tyler Colombo, the best game of his young freshman career. Michael Quiring played a really important role off the bench, 10 points on 4 of 6 shooting. Those 3 led the way for BW. Wilmington got 14 from Christian Jones. He hit 5 of 8 from the floor. Noah Chapman had 9 points on 4 of 6 shooting, 6 points for Andrew Russell. DJ Isles had 5. So the final score, Baldwin Wallace 73 and Wilmington 69. We'll wrap it up next on BWYellowJackets.com. Our post-game coverage here on BWYellowJackets.com concludes with a chance to talk with the head coach, Tom Heil, who is probably a happy guy today after a hard-fought, tooth-and-nail win over a conference team in Wilmington. Look, they entered the game 1-4, but I think you probably would agree that's not a team that shows a lot of 1-4 characteristics because they play full 40 minutes right at you.
Yeah, the OAC is really, I mean, this is as good of an OAC as honestly I can remember in all the years I've been a part of it. Top to bottom, anybody can beat anybody. And I think you'll see that as it plays itself out over 18 conference games. You got to be ready to play every night. And you got to throw the records out the window. And I'll tell you, man, it's really hard when you prepare for Wilmington because of how hard they play. Like, I think Casey's a great coach. He gets them to play incredibly hard. And they take you out of your stuff. Like, I really think against these guys you have to just be ready to make basketball plays and space the floor and be tough with the ball because they pressure you so much and deny that it's hard to get into what you want to do offensively. And I thought our guys handled that well for the most part. We got some timely stops, some timely rebounds, made some free throws, and made some plays down the stretch. But the reality is it's really hard, no matter how much you're up at any point in an OAC game. It's going to come down to the last 2-3 minutes. I know it sounds cliche, but you've seen enough. It's just the way it is. You got to make plays down the stretch. And I was proud. We had some young guys out there for some major minutes.
Not only young guys, but, and I don't mean to cut you off, I want you to tell me your opinion of Tyler Colombo today because your game plan has Mike Kamensky as a starter today, and in the first 30 seconds, he's no longer a factor, and Colombo has to slide in.
Yeah, that's what a team's all about, and we talk about that stuff a lot. I feel for Mike because Mike Kamensky's a really, really tough guy, and he has been battling through the ankle. And then I think it was the very first possession.
It was. We
had the ball. He heard it again, and I could tell if he's limping, he can't play. I mean, he is a really tough kid, and so we had to get, we had to go to the bench, and I was really proud of Ty. Ty's one of our best competitors. I think he's really come along, and he's got some areas that he still needs to improve, which he knows. But, man, he competes so hard, and he's just my kind of guy. I love the way he competes. He's one of our best competitors, and he showed that today. That's a game where you just gotta be ready to play like a man on both sides of the ball and compete, and he was ready to go. He's a tough kid, and I'm proud of the way they played. He brings some versatility, too. I think he can play outside, play inside, and is really long on defense. I was proud of the effort that he gave.
Tyler finished with a career-high 10 points, but he may have been better on the defensive end of the floor. Before we let you go, because you alluded to how tough this conference is, not sure if you've heard this or had a chance to look yet, Ohio Northern beat Marietta today in Ada. Otterbein knocked off Mount Union in overtime at Mount Union, and John Carroll went down to Capital and beat Capital. So there's a big logjam now of teams that are 4-2, 3-3 in the conference, which means your win today really helps your case because the top two teams in the OAC had both lost. Just goes to show as you go to Ada now on Wednesday how difficult it is to get ready each and every night.
Yeah, it is, and young guys, I'm sure they, they're looking at that stuff quite a bit. I don't, and the standings right now literally are relevant for about 2 more days, and then the standings after Wednesday are relevant for, it's so early. You just got to play one at a time and try to get better. That's what we're trying to do. Anybody can beat anybody, and through however 5-6 conference games, that's obviously shown. I think everybody has 2 losses then.
Yep.
What
yeah,
everybody's
got
got
at least
maybe
2 losses.
So it's a really tough league. We need to improve. And if I think a lot of times you look at some of those teams, you have a big win on Wednesday, and if it keeps you from getting better Thursday, Friday, and ready to play again Saturday because you're feeling good about yourself, you get beat. Doesn't matter who you're playing. And when teams get beat, they're hungry to get that win on Wednesday or Saturday. You got to be ready to go. We try to just take a consistent approach. We're trying to go 1-0 the rest of the way out. That's kind of our motto and what we're trying to do. So we've got some young guys. We need to buy into that and understand how tough it is. If they look at the records or this or that, I mean, anybody can beat anybody, and that is shown. But that's also, I think, what makes this league so exciting. I think we get good players and recruits want to play in the OAC because of how competitive it is. So it's going to be fun. It's nerve-wracking. It's frustrating when you're not playing well, and I think we've weathered that, and we've gotten to just, hey, let's go 1-0 and keep getting better. And I'm proud of our young guys. They've kind of hung in there, and they're getting better.
Today was a good test for the Jackets. They had to put forth a pretty full effort to beat Wilmington, but held them off in the end, 73-69. Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll wrap it up next here on BWYellowJackets.com. All right, let's give you the final numbers here before we wrap things up for good this afternoon. Final score, Baldwin Wallace 73 and Wilmington 69. The Jackets shot the basketball well today, 51% from the floor, basically even in both halves. Baldwin Wallace only hit 6 3-pointers, which usually if you see that number, you'd think that BW struggled. But today they won the ball game because they got the gritty effort they needed from their bench. Even though they were out-rebounded by 1, BW got excellent bench contributions from Tyler Colombo and Michael Quiring. Cam Kuhn was quiet today with only 8 points. He had 1 field goal. It was a first-half 3-pointer. It was the only shot he hit from the floor. But Cam found other ways to contribute with a block and 4 steals. He also grabbed 4 rebounds and had 2 assists. Jake Featherolf paced the way for BW, 23-9, maybe his best game of the season.
He plays definitely out of his mind when he's here, and he keeps those going on the road too. So like we were talking about, I said that earlier in the game, that Kuhn, when he doesn't have his best scoring games, finds his ways to take over games other way, and he got those 4 steals, which was a game high, and it tied his career high.
Wilmington, 16 points from Christian Jones. They got 12 from DJ Isles and Noah Chapman. So Wilmington falls to 6-7. They're now 1-5 in conference play. But I think you just you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Tom Heil said, "Look, those standings are only relevant for a couple days at a time. Wilmington is better than a 1-5 team, even though they are constructed a lot differently than we've seen some Wilmington teams in years past." Meanwhile, BW happy to get a win. They haven't won a game since mid-December, though the Jackets are now 7-6 on the year, 2-4 in the OAC. Our next coverage of Yellow Jacket basketball will be on the ladies' side on Wednesday night. The men are at Ohio Northern. Ohio Northern's women's team comes here, and honestly, that's probably going to be the better of the 2 games between the 2 schools, because on the ladies' side, you've got a Polar Bears team who is number 15 in the country. On the BW side, they lost today, now 11-2 on the year, but if BW can beat Ohio Northern like they did in the OAC tournament last year, then BW may start really making some noise on the national scene.
Yeah, it's going to be a definitely stronger game here, but who knows what we saw of our men here today and what the Ohio Northern Polar Bears did to Marietta today by winning by 10. That could be an outstanding game too, because right there with a win there for the Yellow Jackets, they're right back in this top 5 hunt for the OAC tournament.
So Baldwin Wallace will play on Wednesday night. It's a 7 o'clock tip here at Ursprung Gymnasium on the ladies' side here at home, and again on the men's side in Ada. For Jeff Miller and on behalf of everyone else for Sports Information, I'm Brendan Gulick. So long, and thanks for listening here this Saturday afternoon, where BW beats Wilmington by 4 in a wire-to-wire affair. Have a great night, everybody.